From First Paw Media, sponsored by First Paw Coffee Company, this is the Dog Driver Show. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now here are your hosts, Robert Forto and Kourosh Partow.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Robert Forto and I'm here with my co-host Kourosh Partow, and we are the Dog Driver Podcast, and today we have a guest calling in from Salcha, Alaska. KP, who do we have?
We have Andrea Bond with us, fellow rookie Rondy driver. She's been doing sled dog racing for several years. Her husband and her, Gary Markley, and they have a wonderful kennel in Salcha, Alaska, and they have a nice, beautiful trail system they train on there, mainly open class, and they've been involved in the sled dog sport for many, many years, especially Gary. Andrea, welcome to the show, and tell us who you are and how you started in the sport.
Thank you. I'm Andrea, and I guess I've been racing now or mushing in general for 7 or 8 years. When I first came up to Alaska, I met Gary, and he had just previously sold out his whole kennel, and he got one of his best dogs back, and we kind of got the dog back and looked at each other and said, what are we going to do now? And I guess we started a dog kennel. So that was in, I think, 2013. And so it's been about 9 years now. We've been working at building it back up, and I think we're finally getting somewhere.
That's good. Tell us about the size of your kennel and what you have going on and your bloodlines a little bit.
Okay, we have right now, including all the retired dogs and puppies and main team, we have about 40 dogs in the kennel. And, you know, our goal, what we're shooting for is to run open class for Rondy and North American. And, you know, we have a smaller kennel. We can't breed every year, and we try not to breed a lot of dogs. So we're doing that every other year. We'll have some puppies. And so in kind of the in-between years, we have a lot of yearlings, and we'll do some of the shorter limited or shorter open races and get them a lot of experience coming into the main team. And I guess that's pretty much what we're doing.
And you mentioned Gary started with one of his old dogs and basically recreated the breeding program in the kennel. What was that dog from, and what is the background of that dog, and who that dog was?
Yes, so that dog is Chevy, and that's a dog that he bred. I believe it was from some Eagle Ellis lines and maybe some Mari Rado lines in there. And he's kind of been the backbone of our whole kennel, and he's pretty houndy. He's got some English pointer in him, so we're basically finding good husky females to breed him to. And we've had some success there with some Earhart and Dunlap dogs. And now we've brought some Wheeler dogs into the kennel that we're working with getting into the breeding program too.
It's interesting when you say the Chevy was more of a houndy dog. Tell our listeners why it's important to breed that into the husky lines and more of a coated dog in your environment.
Right. So we live in probably one of the colder, not the coldest, but one of the most cold places in Alaska. So it's not uncommon for it to be 50 below for periods of time during the winter, 50 below Fahrenheit. And it's just the dogs thrive better that have more fur. We can leave them outside a little bit more and not have them in the dog barn all the time. We have to feed them less, and you know, we don't have to run jackets on them quite as often when we're training. And, you know, often we're training when it's 15 or lower below Fahrenheit. So if we can have them not in coats all the time, they run better, you know, they don't get chafed, and they just perform better. We're not having to pour as much food into them. They're just happier. And, so we're finding that, you know, there's benefits to having the hound and there's benefits to the husky. So trying to get the right blend there can be a little tricky. You know, maybe the hounds are known for having worse foot problems. And so that's trying to kind of balance the fur and the feet and the food is, it's kind of a delicate game sometimes, but we're doing our best there.
Andrew, you mentioned the temperature, and when personally, we live, as you know, in South Central Alaska, and our climate is a little bit milder than yours. And a lot of people, they don't understand when you talking about 40 below and 50 below. Tell me how much care is involved when you have this type of temperature to keep these athletes in top shape.
Okay. Well, so when it's cold, we have insulated kennels or outside, or we keep them in a barn in kennels inside, basically like your dog box, but with insulation. And we can also put straw bales around that, or we keep them in, we have travel with an enclosed trailer, so we can put dogs in there too. And so basically what our day looks like on a cold day is we've had them all boxed up at night. We let them all out in the morning. If it's too cold out, they're not going to drink well, so we just put them back in the box till it warms up a little bit. We put them back outside to have their morning broth. Put them back in the box. You got to let them out in an hour to go pee. Put them back in, come out in a couple more hours to go to the bathroom. Maybe hook up and train a team if it's warm enough. Maybe not. Back in the box. And then they can sit for a little while. They come back out to eat. And back in the box, and then back out before bed. So we put them back out at their houses to feed and water. So it's funny, I actually put a GPS on me one day to see how much walking back and forth I'm doing one day when we drop like that. And it's 8 or 10 miles I'm walking around, just letting the dogs out to go to the bathroom,
That is incredible. That is that is a full-time job, just taking these guys back and forth, and keep them healthy and in tip-top shape. I completely understand. It is so much work. And so this year, you decided, Gary and you decided to run the World Championship, the Rendezvous. When did that idea start? How was it in this right in the spring of the year before? It was last minute. Tell me a little about that.
Well, so there's been Gary and a few of our friends have been kind of saying for a couple of years now, why don't you run Rondy this year? Or have you thought about doing this? Do you want to do it next year? And I, that's not something I wanted to do till I felt I was totally ready and capable to handle whatever was thrown at me out there. And so that's better for me, and that's better for the dogs, and that's better for the other competitors too. Like, the dogs have no problem, right? But I wanted to make sure I could handle anything that happened out there till I felt comfortable. But I had thought about it in 2020, and I said, no, I don't want to do it. It's too stressful. You're better at thinking on your feet. You do this, right? And he ended up coming right across the moose, right in that race. And I'm like, I'm so glad that didn't happen to me, because I would have no idea, be totally off guard about it, right? But then I thought, well, okay, 2021, we're going to have a very small open team. It will be all veterans, dogs that have done the race before, leaders I can trust. And so I thought, I'll sign up that year. And, as you know, we didn't have a Rondy last year, so that plan didn't work out. But so this year we have a bigger team. We had about a 16-dog team this year, and probably half of them were 2-year-olds. They're younger dogs. They've raced. They have not done a big open class race like that. So I was like, I don't know. It's a big team. Maybe you do it this year. And he's like, well, if you want to do it, do it. We never know. Next year's not guaranteed with the dogs or the sport or anything. So I said, well, I have been doing a lot of the training this year. Gary's been working more than normal, and he's been flying a lot. He's been out dealing with all the snow that we're getting. He's just grooming the trail and plowing the driveway, and I ran the dogs most of the season. So that I have, had a better eye on them, and I'm feeling more comfortable. I've had a lot of little mishaps this year out there that just went smoothly, and we handled it well. So I said, well, okay, I'll give it a shot this year. And it went very well, and I was not nearly as stressed out or nervous as I thought it would be. I think racing is actually easier than handling for stuff like that, for me anyways.
So, how do you juggle all of that? That was a question that I wanted to ask. So, Gary, for people who are Gary Markley, people who don't know, he's a commercial pilot, and he flies every day pretty much. And you are a mom. You have a little boy at home. I believe you homeschool him. And
Yep.
You train dogs, race dogs, and manage the kennel and fill the wood stove and garden and all of that. So how do you put all of that together?
Well, we're really busy all the time, basically. But Eli's getting a little bit older, so he's a little more independent. I can kind of set him with some schoolwork to do while I run out and do chores or something. We don't have a lot of friends or family nearby. We have a couple of good friends, so I can leave him with some friends once in a while so he doesn't have such a long, boring day when I'm training. But we do homeschool, and, that's good because we can just take a week off and go to a race, and he comes with us, and it's no big deal. I take time off from homeschooling during race season, and like you said, we have a big garden and we're growing a lot of our own food, so I take time off during harvest time too. And we make up that time in the summer or Christmas vacation or whatever, and just fit it in when we can. And really, we're finding that we can get school done in a couple hours a day. It's not a 6-hour thing like when you go to school and sit down at the desk all day and stuff. So it works out. He can do dog mushing for gym class, kind of works with our lifestyle pretty well. But yeah, it's hard to find free time to get away because it's either dog mushing or farming, and there's a big overlap in the spring and fall.
Definitely. So now tell me about Rendezvous and your preparation for this big event. How did you start, and when did you start, and tell us about your training program?
Well, we usually start, ideally would like to start at the end of August, but that doesn't often happen. We start usually mid-September. ATV training in the fall, early in the morning while it's still cool out. And we just start 3 or 4 miles, and there's not really a schedule. We try to run every other day because we think that rest is just as important as the training, and they need time to recover and everything. But it's just when the dogs come back looking not too tired and they look good, then we say, okay, we're going to increase the mileage. And some dogs struggle more than others. This year, we didn't have that problem. The dogs were easily handling all the mileages we put at them, which is honestly the first time I've really seen that, and we're pretty happy with that. And we just had our biggest issues this year. We had so much snow with keeping the trail open, and it was like they're running in this soft trail all winter, right? And so we thought, well, they're toughened up. They got some strength behind them from running in all that deep snow all year, so they should do okay at Rondy, right? And we try to get our maximum mileage in probably sometime in January, and then we can back off a little bit and maybe speed up. But we train a lot slower than we race.
And so the team is ready, you are ready, and tell me about your first day, hours before the race. How did it feel?
Well, I think probably Thursday was the hardest day. I've been just trying to keep myself really busy so I don't overthink it or get too nervous. But going to the draw and the trail go around and Friday morning coming out onto the avenue, it was just like, wow, like this is real. We're at the World Championships. I have this great dog team. I have some leaders I can really trust. They've been here. They're going to do the right thing. And it was, it's pretty overwhelming and amazing all at the same time, right? But we're going to go out here and, I'm not going to try to go win the race. We're just going to do the best we can and go have a nice run out there. It was really warm. The dogs are not used to that, so I knew that was going to be an issue. So I just tried to be more conservative and run the pace the older dogs or the dogs that run warm need to run, because, right, that's what you need to do. You can't just go out as hard and as fast as maybe the younger dogs can, right? We got to run to the 7-year-olds. We got to run to this dog who doesn't like to run when it's 40 degrees. So we just go out there. We're going to take it easy, get the older dogs around the first day, and then see what we can do the next day, right?
Yep. Andrea, being a rookie, and I always say that finishing Rendezvous in one piece is a big event, in my opinion. And I've been there, I've done that, and goods and bads. I was on the Avenue last race, and I was talking to a lot of the drivers, the friends, friends for life. And did they give you any advice as a rookie and say, do this or do that, be careful, watch this?
Everyone, we all run dogs different, and so I think we all have different advice. And I asked some people for advice, and lots of people were just giving me advice talking. And I really appreciate that about the sport and the community. Is like you could be my top competitor, but I still want you to have the best run you can, right? And we're going to do anything we can to help each other. And I love that about the Mushing family. But lots of people, and they tell you stuff that you already know, but when you're under pressure and maybe you're a little bit stressed, it's just nice and comforting to hear it, right? Like, run to your slowest dog. Just watch your dog. Watch your dog coming home the first day, coming up the hill. Make your decisions then. Drop anyone who is not looking good. Because as you know, the dogs want to run. They are going to try and convince you that they're okay, even if they're not. So just trusting your instincts on the trail. If you see one little thing that's off, it's better to just drop the dog than to make a mistake and take a dog that you shouldn't have, right?
It is so true. So I know in the Shoot Friday, Gary grabbed me to give you a hand, and I was holding your team in the start line, and I was looking at you, 3, 2, 1, go. What is in your head at that time?
What is in your head at that time? It was just, I'm running down 4th Avenue with 15 dogs, and we're running red lights, right? Mm-hmm. It was just amazing, like, just being a part of the Fur Rondy and how much a part of mushing history that is, and you're being a part of that, doing the same thing that all the legends of mushing have done, and here we are, we're doing it too. And I guess I just felt really proud of the dogs, and that feeling, we worked so hard, we trained all year. As you know, it's not just this year, we've been working at this for a number of years, all the dogs that we're breeding and training. And you just feel really proud about it, like you've accomplished something, right? Mm-hmm. And it was just amazing.
And a lot of our listeners are not super familiar with Rendezvous and the trail system and the track, how it is. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to go through Rendezvous. What do you see? Strange stuff you see.
Oh, boy. Okay, so you start out, you're in downtown Anchorage, which Anchorage has gotten a lot bigger over the years since Fur Rondy first started. Anchorage used to be kind of like what we'd consider now a small town, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's a big city with, I don't know if we call them skyscrapers, but big tall buildings and banks and little stores, and there's just crowds of people lining the street. You're doing road crossings at every block. Volunteers are out there shoveling snow in the road for you to go across. You take a sharp turn and go down Cordova Hill, and there's tons of people there cheering and screaming and, woo, go, yelling at you. and then you come down and you're kind of on, I guess, what are bike paths through the city, and there's lots of people there because it's really accessible points. You're going over maybe a 6-lane highway overpass, a pedestrian walkway. That's pretty wild, and the dogs, they're just going straight ahead. They didn't look at anything, right? And you're going through big giant culverts that are 7 feet tall. You're going through, and one is really long. The dogs come into it, they can't see the end, and they just have to trust you that you're not running them into something they can't get out of, right? Mm-hmm. And so this race, I think, is really important to have that repertoire with your dogs where they trust you, they know you're not going to ask too much of them or put them in a dangerous situation, and you're trusting them to just keep going ahead and doing what they do, right, and listen to you. And then you're going keep going through the city by the hospital. There's all kinds of crazy turns and culverts and everything. And at some point, finally, you come out into the Anchorage Azure Trail system, and it's just a nice little run through the woods, which, there's a lot of ups and downs and turns. So it's technical in its own way, but everyone can kind of relax and, get their heads about them and come through that trail system. What I'd say maybe 16 miles through there, and then you're go back through the city thing all over again. And this time, the dogs are all tired, and coming up that Cordova Hill is very steep at the end, and you'll frequently see a lot of mushers that running up the hill with their dog team, or the dogs are getting tired on the hill. Sorry, I thought I saw a loose dog running by there, but was not. And then you go by a kids' school Friday. There's tons of kids. They come out, they get recess or whatever to come watch the dog teams come by, and they're all cheering at you and yelling. They're so excited, and that's really fun to see. And then we're coming back up the hills, across the roads, through the city. And it can be just really overwhelming. It's a lot, and we were lucky. We didn't meet any loose dogs or any moose. There's a lot of moose in the city, and they don't like to really get off the trail. Unfortunately, a few mushers did have some issues with moose, and you just hate to see that when you want everyone, like I said before, to have a good run and have a clean run and do their best. So it's just you really feel bad when one of your fellow competitors has something unexpected or bad happen to them like that, like having a moose come through the team, or some other mishap going wrong for them, right?
Definitely. Andrea, so how did you finish?
I ended up in 10th place. The third day was canceled this year due to the trail conditions, but we finished in 10th place this year, and I was really happy because I said, just finishing the race is a huge accomplishment, but, to be able to finish in the top 10 would be great. And I think that we had the dog team to do that this year. And so we're really happy with that.
Andrea, I just have one question before we go here on the show, and that is, what is one piece of advice you would give to a rookie going into Rondy? They're coming up. They've never ran the race before. Maybe they've never been to Alaska before. Is there one piece of advice you could give those guys?
Well, I think the best thing they could probably do if they're coming from somewhere else is to get up here early and get the dogs acclimated. We see people doing that first stage stop and everything because of the altitude, but I think for the climate and just so the dogs are well rested, if you're able to come up early, get a feel for the trail system out there, the woods part, and just get the dogs acclimated to the weather would probably be really beneficial.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on your finish on Rondy. You can say proudly that you are now a veteran of the race, and hopefully we will see you on the leaderboard again someday soon.
Okay, thank you guys.
Excellent. KP, anything before we go?
Andrea, wanted to thank you for spending last 20-some minutes with us. Say hi to Gary, and I know that you guys work a lot together, and I hope to see you guys in our race circuit here in Eagle River, in Anchorage next year, and race you guys, and good luck with the rest of your season.
Okay, thank you. You too. We'll definitely be down next year with all those young dogs, so we'll see you there.
Very good. On behalf of my co-host and our guest today, this is Robert for the Dog Driver Podcast. We will talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.
From First Paw Media, this is the Dog Driver Show. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you can see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert Forto and Kourosh Partow. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media.